Good morning once again to the Shins, and this is again your learning partner, Teacher Anna. Now, last week we have learned about plot. Today we are going to learn about point of view. Now, let's have our learning outcomes. So, at the end of the unit or at the end of this lesson, guys, you are expected to write narrative vignettes based on the real life experiences using various points of view. Second, you are going to exhibit expertise in shaping a narrative through the use of different points of view. So, ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng points of view in terms of creative nonfiction? So, point of view or POV, who is telling a story or who is narrating it. So, in specific term, it is the perspective from which a story is narrated. So, every story has a perspective, though there can be more than one type of point of view in a work of literature. So, like for example, when you read the story and then when you tell it to someone else, you are sharing your point of view or your perspective from the story, which is in narrative way or in narrative. Every story has a perspective. So, iba't ibang story, guys, we also have different perspective from it. So, always remember that there are more than one type of point of view in a work of literature. So that's why when you read a story or when you read a novel, there is a different interpretation of it. And we can also see the different disagreements of the readers because they have different perceptions from the story. Okay, so now that is point of view. Now let's go to the point of view versus narrator. So ano bang kaibahan nila, guys? So actually they are very different. So point of view is very closely linked with the concept of a narrator. So minsan, iniisip ng marami na yung point of view is just like the job of narrator or just like narrator, which just say everything relating to the story, but it doesn't. Okay, point of view is a little bit broad. So the narrator of a story can be participant in the story, meaning this character is a part of the plot or a non-participant. So most likely, guys, ang mga narrator they are participant in the story. Like for example, the autobiography of someone. So kung kinsa tong narrate ato, siya pod ang author. So there are also non-participant. Like for example, the life of uh, the mom or dad of the author. So hindi siya participant sa story, but he or she is narrator. So the point of view in a story refers to the position of the narrator in relation to the story. So mas broad si point of view kaysa kay narrator. For example, if the narrator is a participant in the story, it is more likely than the point of view would be the first person. Okay? So for example daw, kung ang narrator is a participant in the story, so it means, like for example, ihatong story iyang gibasa or ihatong story iyang gibuhat as an author. So it is more likely that the point of view would be the first person. So meaning, because this is my story, I am the first person. So we use I, just like that. If the narrator is a non-participant, it is more likely that the point of view would be in third person. So, meaning if dili or non-participant ang narrator, so it means that he or she or the point of view would be in third person. as the narrator is removed from the events. So, these are general guidelines, of course, and there are many exemptions of these rules. So, let us look more in depth at the multiple options for narrative point of view. Okay, so narrative or narrator is just a little bit of a point of view. Okay, so point of view is more broader than narrator. So pag sinabi nating narrator, maybe he or she is a participant and a non-participant. But when sinabi nating point of view, so maybe kung uh, the narrator is the participant, it means the point of view is first person. So if the narrator is non-participant, so the point of view is third person. So I hope you understand that point. Now let's go to the next one. So let's go to the types of point of view. So here in our picture, we just have three, but actually there are a lot. So point of view for the first person point of view. So mahibalaan mo ni siya because they uses pronouns I, my, we, our, me, and us. The narrator speaks about himself or herself. The narrator is usually also the main character. Like, I was sad, I felt nervous. So it means that is a first person point of view. Pero meron tayong dalawang first person, guys. So the first one is the first person singular. So uses the I pronoun to refer to the narrator. So this narrator is usually the protagonist of the story. And this point of view allows the reader access to the character's inner thoughts and reactions to the events occurring. So most likely, the word I is a first person singular. Okay? Now we also have first person plural. So diba singular on, then plural. So first person plural, this point of view is extremely uncommon in novels. So uncommon kani siya sa novels, guys, because we are talking about creative nonfiction. So most likely yung real stories. So this one is an example of first person singular. While the other one, we, is an example of first person plural. So this implies a group of people narrating the story at once. So meaning there is a group of people narrating the story at once. To use this point of view successfully, there must be a sense of group identity, either facing a similar challenge together or placing themselves in a position to another outside group. So, most likely, when they use first person plural, it means there is a group of people na ay grupo nga tao or mga tao na naga-narrate ana nga story. Or maybe they have the same identity and experiences. But all of them are including in first person POV. So meaning the narrator speaks about himself or herself. So for example, I was sad, I felt nervous. We were sad. We felt nervous, just like that. So for the second person POV, so, uses pronoun you and yours. So, di ba natutunan ninyo to sa inyong English, English 101 and English subjects in the lower years. So, dito, ginagamit natin siya as second person POV. So, which means we use the pronoun you and your. So, the narrator speaks directly to the reader. So, it is also rarely used. Like, for example, you were sad. You felt nervous. Just like that. And then, another uncommon point of view is second person. So, uncommon put si second person kasi we are talking about creative nonfiction. It's real life stories. So, It is talking to the reader. Pag ginamit yung you, meaning uh, the author is talking to the reader. So this point of view either implies that the narrator is actually an I, trying to separate himself or herself from the events that he or she is narrating, or allows the reader to identify with the central character. So, gusto niya ding ma-imply yung a certain character, or pwede rin na separate niya ang kanyang sarili from different events or from different people. Kaya gumagamit siya ng second person POV. Now let's have the third person POV, or third person point of view. So when you are the third person, you uses pronouns like he, she, it, they, his, her, their. The narrator watches the story, but it is not in it. So he speaks about the characters, but not himself. Okay, like for example, he's talking about his friend. So it means he speaks about another or other characters, but not himself. So most stories use this point of view. So most stories daw ito yung ginagamit na point of view. But in creative nonfiction, ginagamit lang to when the speaker or the author is talking about another character. So for this one, we can say he looked sad. He seemed nervous. So just like that. So another meaning for the third person POV is this point of view definition uses he and she as the pronouns to refer to different characters and provides the greatest amount of flexibility for the author. So meron tong different amount of flexibility to the author. So pwede niya gamitin sa kanyang mother, dad in narrating the story. So in third person, then it is also said that third person is limited and third person is omniscient. So when we say third person limited, the reader is free only to one main character thoughts. So meaning limited lang ang iyahang part. So it is just only one main character's thoughts. So it is similar to the first person singular point of view since the focus stays tightly on one character. Then we can also say that third person is omniscient. So this allows the author to delve into thoughts of any character, making the narrator seem godlike. This was a popular point of view in the 19th century novels. For example, the opening of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice presents an all-knowing narrator. Okay? So meaning ng omniscient is an all-knowing narrator. So just like the opening of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. Meron siya example sa third person, omniscient. Now let's go to the next slide. So let's clear it all and let's go to the next slide. So let's go to alternating person. Ano pala yung alternating person? Why it is included in point of view? So, alternating person in some novels combine two or more of the above types of point of view. So, sometimes it combines two or more of the above types of point of view. For example, some novels alternate between first person singular point of view in some chapters and the third person point of view in other chapters. So the Harry Potter series alternates between third person limited allowing access to Harry's thoughts and third person omniscient when information must be shared that Harry is not a witness. So that's why it is an alternating person. Ang example nito guys is yung Harry Potter series. Always remember that the Harry Potter series alternates between third person, which is limited, and allowing access to Harry's thoughts, and then third person omniscient when information must be shared that Harry is not a witness to. So now let's talk about some example. So first person singular. Example, I had the craziest night last night. I'll tell you all about it. So I will say it again. First person singular example. I had the craziest night last night. I'll tell you all about it. Now let's go to the first person plural. Example of the first person plural. New York was great. We went to the Statue of Liberty. We walked around Central Park and we ate fantastic food. It's our favorite city. So here we have the author maybe and with his boyfriend talking about New York. So we have first person. I will say the example again. New York was great. We went to the Statue of Liberty. We walked around Central Park and we ate fantastic food. It's our favorite city. Now, example of the third person. So, my grandfather was a pilot in the war, and one time he survived a terrible crash. My grandfather was a pilot in the war, and one time he survived a terrible crash. So that are the examples of first person singular, first person plural, and third person. Now, let's go to the next slide. So let's try to know the significance of point of view in literature. So, importante ba ang point of view sa literature, guys? So let's try to know. So the choice of the point of view which or from which to the narrated story greatly affects both the reader's experience of the story and the type of information the author is able to impart. So meaning guys, yung pinipili nating point of view or napiling point of view ng author sa kanyang gawa or in a story. So this one or which is the style to narrate a story. So it greatly affects both the reader's experience. So it really greatly affects guys the reader's experience. Like the reader would know ang author is talking about himself. Yung author is talking about his or her boyfriend or girlfriend, just like that. And the type of information the author is able to impart. So if you become an author, guys, you will also impart something about like this. So like for example, your story or maybe the love story of your loved ones. So first person created a greater intimacy. So sa creative nonfiction, guys, ang first person yun guys, maghahatag na siya greater intimacy, meaning it is your real life story, your love story between the reader and the story. While third person allows the author to add much more complexity to the plot. So yung mga third person din natin, nag-a-add din ito ng complexity, like beauty, with complexity to the plot. And development of different characters. So dito din nade-develop ang iba't ibang characters. Therefore, point of view has a great amount of significance in every piece of literature. So dahil dito, it is really a very or significant yung point of view in every piece of literature. Okay? Para malaman natin kung what is being talked in the story is a story of the author or maybe the narrator of the story or just the son or daughter of the love story of a parents, just like that. So that's why it is very significant so that we will know how would we talk about them, especially inside and outside when talking about stories. Like if you want to develop a story yourself, or maybe if you want to uh, make your own life story, or maybe the love story of your parents. So, point of view is very significant. So, thank you so much for listening, everyone. I hope you learned a lot from our lesson today. So, let's go now to your assessment. And always remember to do your best and make your parents proud. See you in a while, tradition. Do your best. Have a great day.